In the time it takes you to actually board that flight from Group 8,
Now boarding Premier Altitude Elite Club members.
you could have bought a Hyundai on Amazon. Yes, that Amazon, where you buy everything else.
Mid-tier Altitude Elite, feel free to board now.
So while you're waiting for them to make up new boarding groups, you can order your dream car and the dealer will have it ready in no time.
Now boarding groups 1 through 7.
So close. Visit HyundaiUSA.com or call 562-314-4603 for more details. Limited availability, pickup through participating Hyundai dealer in select markets.
I'm Indy Neidell.
And I'm Berns.
And this is the Baseball History Time Machine.
The stattiest and nerdiest baseball podcast of them all.
Sure.
And this episode is a continuation from last time, right?
That it is. Last time I began looking at the list of pitchers, and it's a list of 26 names, who threw shutouts in at least 10% of their career starts with a minimum of 40 career shutouts, right?
You did 13 last time?
I did the top 13. And it was just about all guys from the dead ball era or guys who put up their biggest number in the dead ball era, like Walter Johnson or Grover Alexander. And then also Sandy Koufax. Koufax, who was number 10 on the list, is the only pitcher since Alexander retired in 1930 to make the top half of the list, the top 13. I will say again, though, the bottom 13, numbers 14 to 26, are from a variety of eras. So this episode will be a mixed bag.
So it's not era specific. So that's going to be a bit of jumping back and forth.
Yes.
Which is nice.
So I'm going to get into it. Now, number 14, I'm not jumping anywhere because number 14 is actually the one guy in the bottom half of the list who pitched his entire career during the dead ball era.
Okay.
He was active from 1903 to 1917, and it is Chief Bender, or Charles Bender, as I guess he is now known.
They'd call any Native American player chief back then, yeah?
They did, though there weren't exactly a lot of them. Bender is the only one to make the Hall of Fame, which he did in 1953, a year before he died.
And how did he feel about being called chief?
He did not like it. But the newsmen of the early 20th century didn't listen or didn't care, and so Chief he was. He signed his autograph, Charles, though. However, he did allow Chief to be on his gravestone. Tom Swift, who wrote the book Chief Bender's Burden, writes that by the 1950s, he had been called Chief for so long and with such affection that was the reason. I'm not so sure he would have been as cool with the Sporting News headline when he died, though, which was, Chief answers call to happy hunting grounds.
Hard to even imagine how I'd feel. I mean, in that period, the early 1900s, as we covered before in our Breaking the Color Barrier series, Native Americans were allowed to play in the major leagues, but only just.
Well, they faced some pretty serious harassment at basically every game. And of course now Bender's baseballreference.com page says Charles Bender, not Chief. Yeah. But hey, here's a fun little side note.
Okay.
While pretty much all Native American major leaguers were called Chief, not all ball players called Chief back then were Native Americans.
Explain.
Chief Wilson, who holds the single-season record for triples, was not of any Native American ancestry at all.
Then why was he called Chief?
It's a good story, but I'm not going to tell you now because he will soon figure prominently in an episode, right? And it's a good story that I'll cover then. This was just sort of a teaser. But back to Bender. His greatest years were the 12 seasons he pitched with Connie Mack's Athletics from 1903 to 1914.
Great team.
For sure. They won 5 pennants and 3 World Series in that time, and Bender was a big part of that. In fact, Bender was known first and foremost as a money pitcher. He was at his best under pressure. Connie Mack, in his 50 years as a manager, had some great pitchers work for him, right? He had Lefty Grove, Eddie Plank, Herb Pennock, George Earnshaw, Jack Coombs, Rube Waddell.
That's an all-time great list of talent.
It is, but Mack had this to say. This is a quote. If I had all the men I'd ever handled, and they were in their prime, and there was one game I wanted to win above all others, Albert would be my man.
Wait, who's Albert?
Mack called Bender by his middle name, Albert, Charles Albert Bender.
Not Chief?
No, not Chief. Bender was proud of his heritage, as you may imagine, but it must have been pretty tough at away games when the whole crowd of thousands of people are going like, woo, woo, woo. You're like, what they think are Indian war cries.
And how did he react? Like, it's hard to keep calm and to keep cool in a game situation. You're being taunted.
Bender was ice cold, and he often called them foreigners who should go back to Europe.
That's pretty good, though.
It is pretty good.
All right. Fair enough. And how did he make it into the big leagues in the first place, though?
He got his education at the Carlisle Indian School, just like Jim Thorpe would a couple years later. Bender played a variety of sports there in addition to baseball. He played football, played basketball, he ran track. He was a first baseman in baseball, but after doing some spot relief, was converted to pitcher. Fun fact. A lot of fun facts this episode. The coach that converted him to pitcher was Pop Warner, who was a bit more famous as a football coach.
A bit more? He was one of the first people inducted into the Football Hall of Fame.
He was. Okay, but here's another fun little thing, also from Tom Swift.
Wait, isn't Tom Swift a fictional character?
One Tom Swift is, but another one is also a very real journalist who wrote that book about Chief Bender.
Charles Bender.
Right, Charles Bender. Well, it's the story of Bender's first semi-pro pitching appearance. The first time he ever got paid to play baseball. While he was still at Carlisle in 1901, he got asked to pitch a game for $5 by Dillsburg, which was pretty close by.
Which state is this?
Pennsylvania.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay.
Bender plays a hell of a game. He strikes out 21 guys.
Sure.
And hits a grand slam, but Dillsburg loses the game in the 10th inning. Okay, it happens, but when Bender goes to get his money, they only give him $3.20.
Okay, how is this a fun story?
Well, so far it's not a fun story, but hang on. Apparently in 1941, the 57-year-old Bender gets a sack of coins in the post. It's $1.80 in coins from Dillsburg, and all the coins are from before 1901. It also has a note saying that while they were short of cash on game day, the cabbage harvest postseason made possible the payment of all outstanding debts, but his had been misplaced. So here's the rest of the money anyhow, finally.
I mean, better late than never, right?
Yeah, but the note also says they are not paying him interest since they feel he was overpaid in the first place.
But a bunch of, coins from the 1800s, those have got to be worth something eventually, right?
And Charles Bender was worth something eventually, too. In 1902, he pitched semi-pro under the name Charles Albert, and soon enough, Connie Mack signed him to a contract.
Maybe that's why he called him Albert. But wait a second. Was he pretty young then? I mean, if he had just been in school, was he 18, 19, 20?
In 1903, Bender was a 19-year-old rookie. And even in an era when players were generally younger than they are today, he was the youngest player in the major leagues by nearly a year over the next youngest, and more than a year over anyone else.
Who was the next youngest, if I can sidetrack you for a minute, of course?
You know I'm going to...
Yeah, it's just bait.
The second youngest was also a pitcher, Klondike Harry Kane, who threw 5 no-hitters in the minor leagues, but went 2-7 in total over parts of 4 seasons in the majors. His last appearance was at the age of 22.
Okay.
But I want to get to something here. I want to get to a point. People don't often realize how young Bender was when he debuted, or how young he was when his career ended. I mean, guys like Sandy Koufax or Hal Newhouser, they didn't pitch much past the age of 30.
Yeah.
And we know the reasons why. But Bender's last 200-inning season was only at age 29.
Oh, wow.
And he only had 4 more full-ish or semi-fullish seasons after that, retiring at 33, though he did pitch an inning for the White Sox at 41 in 1925, when he was a pitching coach for them, but that doesn't, count.
You don't at all think of Bender as having a short career.
But he didn't really. He pitched in 15 seasons, and he finished his career with 212 wins and only 127 losses and a 2.46 career ERA and exactly 40 shutouts in 334 starts for an 11.98 shutout percentage, which is why we're talking about him today.
Wait. 15 seasons are only 334 starts in the dead ball era. That's only 22 a year? That doesn't seem like it makes sense to me. I mean...
Here's the thing about Charles Bender. Last time in part 1, we talked about guys like Ed Walsh that had over 400 innings pitched.
Yeah, which is insane. Yeah. That's insane.
Well, Bender pitched 270 innings as a rookie, right? But that was the only time in his career he pitched over 250 innings in a season.
But why?
Connie Mack was a smart guy.
Okay.
And he obviously knew how little or how much rest a guy like Bender would need. And he also made sure he was available for big games and used him in relief occasionally as well. Still, the 33 starts he made as a rookie were his career high, just 33. And the only time he ever topped 30 starts in a season. And the 36 appearances he made that year, he only topped once, And that was the one year, 1913, when Mack used him more in relief than in starts, and he had 48 appearances. And, funny thing, retroactively, since saves weren't a stat then, his 13 saves that year was the record.
Okay, so based on what we just spoke about, did he have any health issues that meant...
He did. He had health issues fairly often. So he didn't have much stamina. But when I say that Charles Bender was a money pitcher, in the last 3 weeks of 1905, with the pennant on the line, he went 6-0. And on October 5th, with the A's needing to sweep a doubleheader to clinch the pennant, he pitched a shutout to win Game 1, then came in the third inning of Game 2 when the starter got in trouble, and went the rest of the distance to win that Game 2. He also had 5 hits at the plate that day, including a triple and 2 doubles, with 4 RBI in Game 1 and 3 more in Game 2.
That's clutch. So basically, Chief Bender clinched the pennant by himself.
Charles.
Right, Charles.
Then, in the 1905 World Series, in which all 5 games were shutouts, and Christy Mathewson accounted for 3 of them for the victorious Giants, Bender won the lone A's victory with a 3-0 shutout in Game 2, but he lost Game 5, the deciding game, 2-0 against Matty.
Wasn't Rube Waddell the big A's star back then?
He was, and he was totally in his prime, but he missed the series, and somewhat controversially too, though that is also a story for another.
See, we're making this a habit. We're making this a habit. We're making this a habit. We're writing checks that we can't cash. We'll have to make sure.
Of course, I'm going to cover Waddell. I actually know exactly when. I have an idea for an episode that talks about when he really came up in 1902. He came up in June. I don't want to talk about it now because it's such a good story. So I'll talk about that.
But I mean, we just need to keep track of this because I
have the list.
Yeah, we have the list. But what I'm saying is the public wants to know.
Okay, the public wants to know.
The public wants to know.
Okay, Charles Bender, not Rube Waddell. Definitely not Rube Waddell. Charles Bender was known far and wide as a cerebral pitcher who really studied enemy batters. But he also studied enemy pitchers. And after losing that final game to Matty, he studied him, aiming to get his control as good.
And did he?
In 1905, that year, he had 3.5 walks per 9 innings. But then the next 5 years, it was suddenly below 2 each year. And that was really his prime. From his rookie year in 1903 until 1910, he lowered his ERA each and every year from 3.07 as a rookie down to a low of 158 in 1910. That year, he was 23-5 in 30 appearances, 28 starts, to lead the league in winning percentage for the first of 3 times.
That's very impressive. So, how did his career end? Rube Waddell. That's an unfortunate first name. You're a Rube.
Before Babe Ruth, he was the most popular and most famous player in baseball history. People would come hundreds and hundreds of miles to see
Rube Waddell.
To watch the Rube play. The Rube. His name was George, and he was born on April Fool's Day. No, born on April Fool's Day and died on Friday the 13th. And he was he was a man child. That's the only way to say. He would get distracted by fire engines. He missed like 3 months of a season because he decided to go wrestling alligators. So he was
what an absolute
cannon. Connie Mack was the only person that could handle
could reel him in.
Once he was no longer with the A's,
it's impossible to manage him.
No, he was had more stuff than anybody. The 1902 thing, which we're going to talk about in another episode. Yeah. When Mack finally managed to get him, because he had been up in the major and down because no major league, but when Mack got him, it was the end of June. So April, May, June, July, August, September. Yeah. It was the end of June, the 1902 season, right? And the A's were about 500 team. And in July, August, and September, he went 24-7. Led the league in strikeouts despite not pitching until the beginning of July. That's like if someone goes...
That is insanity.
Rube Waddell,
what?
He was the best strikeout pitcher of all time until Sandy Koufax. He set the American League record for strikeouts, and this is the dead ball era when people did not strike out.
Exactly, my whole thing with that is having the strikeout record for the season and only starting in June.
July.
That's even worse.
He missed half the season. He won 24. He won 24 games. The 20th century record for victories in a season is 41 by Jack Chesbro.
But what makes that
in 3 months?
What makes that so impressive is dead ball era. Yeah. That is Hall of Fame.
But Mack would do things like that. Like there was one there as a doubleheader. and Rube threw a shutout in the first half of doubleheader, and Matt goes, "Tell you what, Rube, if you win the second game, you can take 5 days off to go fishing." So that's
got incentivized.
Well, of course he did. And Rube would do cartwheels from the mound and stuff like that. So okay, back to the episode. Bender was 6-3. 191 ERA in his first 9 World Series starts, all complete games, and that is one of the best World Series records there ever has been. Going into the 1914 World Series versus the Miracle Braves, he started Game 1, and after going 17-3 with a 2.26 ERA during the season, he gave up 6 runs in 5 innings, which ballooned his career World Series ERA to 2.44. Bender said the whole team was overconfident, and he himself had both stomach and gallbladder trouble that day.
How does one know how one has gallbladder trouble?
That I do not know.
Maybe I have gallbladder problems.
It's a distinct possibility.
Was that an Animal House reference?
Yes. Well spotted. God, I love Donald Sutherland. Okay. Anyhow, Bender told Mac that he was feeling physically bad about stomach and gallbladder trouble, whatever gallbladder trouble is. But Mac said, you can beat those guys anyhow, which he couldn't. And after the A's got swept in the series, Bender signed with the Federal League team, the Baltimore Terrapins. They finished last, but Bender was released already August 30th after going just 4-16. 4 wins and 16 losses for them. He then went to the Phillies in 1916 and went just 7-7 with a 3.74 ERA.
Based on what we've heard, that's crazy high for him, right?
Those 2 seasons were easily the worst of his career. And things went worse in February 1917 when he hit and killed a pedestrian with his car. A coroner's jury acquitted him of any wrongdoing, and the Phillies signed him for another season, but mainly to pitch batting practice. However, when he started showing signs of classic Chief Bender in May and June, they then threw him into games, and he responded by going 8-2 with a 1.67 ERA, 10 starts, 8 complete games, and 4 shutouts, and 10 relief appearances. But the Phillies still released him at the end of the season.
What? You have a legendary pitcher who must draw a crowd. He doesn't start a game until when?
August 5th. He did relief work only in July.
And his record before his first start that year was what?
0-1 in the relief work. And then that first start, he gave up just 2 runs, and then he threw 3 straight shutouts.
Okay, so in August and September, this revived star goes 8-1 with 4 shutouts, and you release him at the end of the season. For God's sake, why?
I wish I knew, because even though that was the end of his major league career, he could still pitch. He spent 1918 working in the shipyards for the war effort, and then in 1919 he went 29-2 at Class B Richmond, while also 29 wins and 2 losses while also managing.
Now that pisses me off. This is a Hall of Famer, Chief Bender. He's like back to his almost like his prime. He's obviously got gas left in the tank, and he was what, 33 years old?
Yeah.
Who couldn't want that guy?
I don't know if he wanted the majors or not, though. He seemed pretty happy to manage and coach in both the major and minor leagues. He was the state champion shooting clay pigeons. He painted. He was great at golf and billiards. And according to Swift, he was also a consultant in the diamond industry.
Okay, after hearing all of that, I know the real story was he didn't have health issues. No. The times he was away from pitching, he was too busy being the American James Bond, the super spy who was good at everything, the perfect man to send to Europe on spy missions. He could take down the Russians. A Native American who plays Major League Baseball, who in Europe, who would have recognized him? No one would have recognized him. And who in the States would think that he was also a spy? No one. The perfect cover.
You know what, Berns? I choose to believe that you are absolutely correct, and that Charles Albert, Chief Bender, Hall of Fame baseball pitcher, was actually the United States top spy in the early 20th century.
I mean, to Charles Bender.
To Charles Bender, okay.
Yeah,
Chief fucking Bender.
Yeah, I'll toast to that.
There we go.
He moves right up with Babe Adams.
And then, you know, you like Babe Adams. That's what I want you to say.
Yeah.
He moves right up there with Babe.
Yeah, he moves right up there with Babe Adams for me. But hey, it's gonna take you a year to finish this episode at this rate.
Yeah, tell me about it. Okay, but we shall now move on.
We've really only covered one guy.
We've only covered one guy today, but we will get a few more in. Okay. Numbers 15 and 16 on the list of all-time career shutout percentage take us to the 1960s and the 1970s. They are names that often go together, and those names are Bob Gibson and Juan Marichal.
I was wondering when Gibson would be on this list, since his 1968 is the first on the single-season shutout percentage.
Yeah. Now, they clock in with 11.62 and 11.38% of their starts having been shutouts. Thing is, Marichal would likely be much higher, except for what happened to him in 1970. He had a severe allergic reaction to penicillin, which led to arthritis and heavy back pain, and he was no longer at all the same pitcher. In his first 10 seasons, he won 191 games, 185 of them in just 8 seasons after his rookie year, which is pretty impressive.
Yeah.
And he was only 32 when the allergic reaction happened, but he would win but 52 games in his final 6 years.
So what was his shutout percentage after 1969, the season before he got sick?
It was a whopping 14.1%, which would have put him 8th overall on the career list, ahead of everyone in history who didn't play all or most of their careers in the dead ball era. Now, every pitcher, unless something drastic happens like with Sandy Koufax, has a decline period at the end of their careers. But Marichal was still very much in his prime in 1969, quietly leading the league in ERA and WHIP despite Tom Seaver's breakout season. And his decline was so marked that it seems very likely, although what ifs are never guarantees, that he would have finished higher on the list without the penicillin thing.
Again, like Bender, I don't normally think of Marichal having that short of a prime career, if you think about it.
It's not quite fair. Bender only won 20-something games after he turned 30. Marichal did have some okay seasons after that, though you can see his WAR and strikeout totals drop off a cliff, and his ERAs are suddenly like a run or more higher than before, right? But he did win those 52 games, including 18 in 1971. So it's not quite the same situation, but yes, it is definitely something to wonder about.
For sure. Okay, who's next on the list?
Next on the list is another pitcher from the 60s and 70s, and I think this will be a surprise to a lot of people. Mel Stottlemyre.
Yeah, I would have not guessed him.
And yet here he is with exactly 40 shutouts and 356 career starts for an 11.24 shutout percentage.
Did he pitch his whole career with the Yankees?
Yeah, he did. Although it was, I'm using air quotes, only 11 years long. His final season was 1974 at age 32.
What's going on again? That young?
Yeah. Stottlemyre came up in mid-1964 when Yankee ace Whitey Ford was injured, and went 9-3 as the Yankees won the pennant by 1 game over the White Sox and 2 over the Orioles. And they were in third place as late as September 17th, but then they launched an 11-game winning streak. So young Mel was definitely vital for their success. But that year's World Series, in which he went 1-1 in 3 starts, including Game 7, was his only taste of the postseason. Contrary to what many people believe, the Yankees of Stottlemyre's era were not bad, except for 1966. They were just mediocre. But considering that from 1921 to 1964, there had never been more than a 3-year period without the Yankees making the World Series, mediocre equaled bad to the world at large.
Okay, that's fair, but I don't know much about Stottlemyre, to be honest.
Very good pitcher and very dependable. After his rookie year, for the next 9 seasons, he started between 35 and 39 games each year, which, Bender never did. He was a 5-time All-Star. He had 3 20-win seasons. He did lead the league in losses twice, losing 20 in 1966 when the Yankees finished in last place for the first time since 1912, when before they were the Yankees, they were still the Highlanders. And he had an off year on the mound in 1972, losing 18 games. But in that 9-year stretch, 1965 to 1973, only Bob Gibson threw more shutouts, and only Gaylord Perry pitched more innings.
Wow, that's pretty fast company.
Unfortunately for Mel, he had a torn rotator cuff diagnosed in 1974 after 15 decidedly mediocre starts marked by a lot of pain. And that was his active career over. Hey, fun Mel Stottlemyre fact, in 1973, he set the Yankees record for consecutive pitching starts without a relief appearance, 243.
Okay.
See, he had 2 relief appearances in 1966, right? And then in 1974, he set the major league mark of 274. Those 15 starts that he pitched that year ended June 11th, and then he ended his career with a single 2-inning relief stint in August.
Does he still have the record?
No. I'm pretty sure, though I'm not positive, that Tom Glavine has it now. Glavine pitched in 632 career games, and every single one as a starter. He never had a relief appearance in his whole career.
I learn something new every day, every episode.
Stottlemyre was a fastball, slider, sinker kind of guy, and he coaxed a ton of ground balls. You know what? Rookie Stottlemyre in the 1964 series was actually chosen to face off against Bob Gibson 3 times.
For a rookie, that's got to be unbelievable pressure.
For anybody.
Yeah.
He beat Gibson in Game 2, and then he gave up 2 runs, 1 earned, against Gibson in Game 5 before being taken out for a pinch hitter in the 7th and not getting a decision. The Yankees eventually lost that game, and then Stottlemyre pitched Game 7 on 2 days rest.
That kid must have had some amazing stuff.
Cardinals third baseman Ken Boyer, who won the National League MVP that year, he credited Stottlemyre with both the best curve and the best sinker he'd ever seen, and said there was no one in the National League with that kind of stuff.
Wait, the National League that had Koufax, Gibson, and Marichal. That National League.
That's the National League. That's the one.
Oh my God.
Thing is, Game 7 could have been a fairy tale for young Mel. There were 2 on and no outs in the 4th when a Cardinal hit what should have been an easy double play ball. But the throw by the backup Yankee shortstop to first was bad, so they didn't get the out, and a run scored on the plate. Stottlemyre gave up 2 more hits and 2 more runs, and that was the end of the day, and the Yankees lost 7-5. Gibson pitched a complete game.
They scored 5 runs off Bob Gibson in a Game 7 of a World Series. That's one for the books.
That's a really good point, actually.
Yeah.
I didn't stop to think of that they actually scored 5 runs off Bob Gibson in Game 7. Well, Al Downing and Steve Hamilton gave up 4 runs to the Cardinals on top of Mel's 3 that he gave up, but that's it. The next year, 1965, was the Yankees' first losing season in 40 years.
That's a bit of a sudden decline, wouldn't you say?
They basically got old. Ellie Howard was 36. Whitey Ford was also 36. Mickey Mantle was 33, but he only hit 19 homers, and he was an old 33. He only played 3 more seasons after that.
Okay.
Stottlemyre, though, he was suddenly the ace. He went 20-9. He led the league with 291 innings pitched and 18 complete games.
It's a shame he isn't more remembered. Well, I mean, as a player, pretty much everyone remembers him as a pitching coach for the Mets and the Yankees in the 80s and 90s, after all.
Yeah. And it is, and it's a shame he couldn't have a longer career.
Yeah.
He didn't want to stop pitching, actually. He went to spring training in 1975. But the Yankees released him, and he said he was not surprised, but he was disappointed. But he did have plenty of postseason success, well, with the Yankees eventually, since he was a pitching coach with them 1996 to 2005, and they made the postseason every single year and won 6 pennants and 4 World Series. And I especially remember him personally, and that world-class Mets pitching rotation in 1986. Gooden, Ojeda, Darling, and Fernandez.
They beat your Astros in the playoffs.
That they did, and we're not going to talk about it.
Well, that will we talk about that one day?
Sure. One day.
Is Mel Stottlemyre still alive?
No, he passed away in, I think, 2019. It might have been 2018. I'm not entirely sure.
You know, we're nearly up to our usual time when we've only covered 4 pitchers today so far, and you didn't even say much about Gibson or Marichal.
I have an idea for a whole episode about just the 2 of them, because there's a lot to cover there. But I'll do one more picture today, and then we will actually have to make a part 3 about the career shutouts list. Okay?
All right, who is number 18 on the career shutout percentage list?
Hall of Famer Vic Willis is number 18. One of the most forgotten and overlooked Hall of Famers, I do believe.
I think so, too.
Willis's career is interesting because it came in 3 phases, right?
Okay.
He broke in the 1890s with the powerhouse Boston National League club, right? He won 25 games as a rookie during this high-octane offense era.
Was he like their instant ace?
He was actually their number 3 starter, behind Kid Nichols, who went 31-12, and Ted Lewis, who went 26-8 and led the league in winning percentage.
That's got to be one of the best 1-2-3 punches in history, maybe?
It really was. Although, to be fair, Lewis only had a handful of good years. But Boston was 102 wins and only 47 losses that year, right? But the Boston dynasty was coming to an end. And Willis was there for the downfall. They finished second in 1899 and then fourth in 1900 with a sub-500 record. Now, in 1899, Willis was 27-8 and led the league with a 2.50 ERA, which is interesting because he had 6 more career seasons with ERAs lower than that and never won another ERA title. But again, there was offense in the 1890s.
Yeah.
As Boston tumbled, they really relied on Vic Willis. In 1902, he pitched 45 complete games and a whopping 410 innings, and he went 27-20. And that was Boston's last decent year in the period. In 1905, they tumbled to a 51-103 record.
Just 7 years after winning 100 games.
And Vic Willis was still their ace. And he achieved something remarkable that year. He went 12-29, 12 wins and 29 losses, leading the league in losses for the second straight time after going 18-25 in 1904. But that 29 losses is the 20th century record for losses in a season.
Well, if the saying is it takes a pretty good pitcher to lose 20 games in a season, it's true. Then it takes an amazing pitcher to lose 29.
I think it does. I mean, he's a Hall of Famer. But having said that, after that came part 3 of Willis's career.
Okay.
Pittsburgh traded 3 players to get him, and he responded. Pittsburgh was a good team, and he responded with 4 straight 20-win seasons and ERAs between 173 and 234. Wow. He was a big part of the Pirates' 1909 championship team.
Yay, that's Babe Adams' team.
That's it sure is. Well spotted, Berns. But here's the thing, despite his 22-11 record in 1909, the Pirates waived Willis before the 1910 season.
What? They didn't keep that guy? Why not at least trade him for something, get something back?
I don't know why. The Pirates claimed later that he had disciplinary issues, and that really is all I know. He went 9-12, 9 wins and 12 losses for the Cardinals in 1910 after they picked him up. And then in 1911, he chose to retire rather than report to the Cubs, who'd acquired him, which sounds weird to me too, since the Cubs had just won 4 of the last 5 pennants. And why wouldn't you want to be part of a dynasty? But again, that is literally all I know.
What a strange decision to end your career with.
But perhaps a good one to end this episode with.
Oh, we're done?
We're done with the history stuff, and we'll cover the 8 guys on the list next time.
You say that now.
I say that now. But we still have a couple things to say. Like, for starters, I just want to get in some personal stuff. You've just been on tour with your band, yeah?
Yeah, that's right.
Anything you want to say about it?
It was an incredible experience.
Where were you guys touring?
We were pretty much going through bits of Eastern Europe, through Czech to Slovakia, and then we did Hungary, and then of course Romania, which has no highway, by the way, for those
I know.
listening.
I've taken a bus through Romania.
So like doing 400 kilometers takes like eight hours.
Yeah.
And of course there was a heat wave across Europe for those listening.
You're lucky dog.
We were in a van called the Moby Dick, big white van.
Do you want to tell them the name of the band you were touring with, your band?
Rather not. I think that's better left.
Can you tell them the genre?
It's pretty much heavy metal. It's heavy metal stuff.
But it's pretty
niche. Pretty niche stuff.
Black Death, heavy
thrash, yeah. So, but I mean, it was a heat wave over Europe, so we had some record highs in that van, and it had no aircon, by the way.
Yeah, it's a record highs in the van, man.
So it was 36, 37, 38. When we got to Belgrade, eventually, so after we did Hungary, we did Romania for 2 dates. Beautiful country. I love Romania. I had a blast. Romania treated us so well, especially in Bucharest. And then we drove into Bulgaria, which was an experience in itself. The whole Thracian thing that I spoke to you about people from like 5,000 years ago, whatever. They found some grave there during World War II, which is really cool. But that wasn't too bad. We were kind of used to the heat by then. But then we had to go into Serbia, and when we got into Serbia, it was 41.
Which, by the way, to anybody out there that only knows Fahrenheit, 40 Celsius is 104.
Yeah, 104
So
Fahrenheit.
it's just a high 90s, low 100.
Yeah, we were cooking like rotisserie chickens in that van, and you open the window. Everybody's like, "Open the window!" And I'm like, "Okay, fine." I open the window, and it's hot. Way, close the window, close the window. So, but I mean, it was fine. And then the week after, we kind of headed a bit more back to like more like Central Europe, I guess. So we were like into like more up into the Balkans, maybe.
You played in Novi Sad, right?
Yeah. Well, we didn't play in Novi Sad. We had a day off in Novi Sad.
Aha, okay.
And then we drove from there to Croatia. We played Zagreb. Luckily, it was quite forgiving because it'd been raining. So it was like 23, 26 Celsius. And then we did Slovenia, which I absolutely loved.
I like Slovenia.
Ljubljana is a beautiful city. If anybody wants to go there.
It's funny because now I know that some of the people that listen to this are fans of some, my World War II or the Great War stuff channel. I know that I've spent a lot of my life touring with bands and stuff, but I haven't toured Central or Eastern Europe in a long time. I tend to, because I don't have time to do longer tours, and I never talk about the bands I play with anymore. Yeah. So I wanted to throw this in just so they could get to know you a little bit.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. And we ended the whole thing in Italy in a place called Riesia, which is in the mountains. It's gorgeous, stunning nature.
Tell us about the Italian airports.
You don't want to tell the Italian airports. I mean, Italy is a beautiful country, beautiful people, beautiful food, but the airports, man,
not so much. I can tell you that too.
It's a bit dated. They love to queue. When
I used to do the channel Sabaton History with Sabaton, right? And beyond the history stuff, they thought it was fun since I'm an actor. To cast me in a couple of their videos. And when we did the 7 Pillars of Wisdom, where I played Lawrence of Arabia, we filmed it in Tunisia, out in the desert, and had to fly from Stockholm to Italy to Tunis, right? And of course, complete chaos. And there's one line for Italians who are going to fly, and one line for everybody else. And the other line is like a 5-hour line. Like, I'm going to miss I was 3 hours before my change. I'm going to miss. So I went into the Italian line. I have a Swedish and an American passport. I just held them out with a pleading look in my face, like, she. He's like, without understanding anything, I understand exactly. I don't want to go to that line.
Please,
I don't want to go to that line.
Please.
But I mean, talk about privilege. That is fucking privilege to be able to not have to wait in the. Oh, that's a long line. I'm gonna miss my flight line.
I'm not doing
I don't
that.
know. Pick one. Which one
please,
is good?
Dude, just help me out here. Just please, I'm begging you.
Okay, well, we are gonna let you guys go. Now you get to know Berns a little bit more. He's very handsome. Hey, but listen,
voice for radio.
A few little technical bits before we go. For everyone out there who loves this stuff like we do, please join us on Patreon so we can make more of these. There is a $4 a month tier that gets you early access to the episodes, but beyond that, it will really help us be able to take the time to do this instead of,
our regular
extra
jobs.
Voiceovers and things like that. No, but I can take time away from stuff. And hopefully we can get it back to being a weekly series. I mean, there's not enough time for that right now, but hopefully by September. Yeah. So go to patreon.com and look up Baseball History Time Machine or Indy Neidell's Baseball History Time Machine. And you can follow us on Instagram or YouTube. We've started doing some shorts occasionally on Instagram, and those will continue. Those will continue. I mean, some of those are just promos, like, for the episodes, but some are just us being idiots, which we're quite good at. We're good at. And you can follow us on Facebook if you want to write to us and actually talk to us about anything. Yeah, anything really. Be careful what you wish for. Be careful we love to chat. We love to chat. I'm a chatty Cathy. I love to chat. All right. Okay. Well, for today, for this week, for part 2 out of at least 3 career shutout percentage leaders. That's it from me, Indy Neidell. And me, Berns. And the Baseball History Time Machine.
Wherever you go, whatever they get into, from chill time to everyday adventures, protect your dog from parasites with Credelio Quattro. For full safety information, side effects, and warnings, visit CredeliaQuattroLabel.com. Consult your vet or call 1-888-545-5973. Ask your vet for Credelio Quattro and visit QuattroDog.com.